Let's talk about 5 bottles you might actually be able to find this fall and are totally worth the hunt. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch, and thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So that's right, today we're talking about bourbon hunting season. This stretch of the year, we're deep into September now, this stretch from September, October, November, even a little bit in December, is basically bourbon hunting season. This is when all of the most prized, allocated, limited release bottles really sort of hit markets. The problem is, you and I probably aren't going to see more than half of them, if not pretty much all of them. So many of these bottles are super limited, so many people are going after them, and it's going to be dang near impossible to find a lot of them. So I wanted to take the time today to highlight 5 bottles I think you and I can realistically get our hands on, that if we do a little bit of hunting, we should be able to find these, and they are absolutely worth the buy and the time to go out and get them. Before we dive into the list, I do just want to say that if you are enjoying the content coming out of the channel, smash that like button and hit that subscribe button too. Got the goal now to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We've been growing pretty quickly of late, and it's super exciting, and we're going to do a really fun giveaway once we get to 1,000 to celebrate. So if you haven't already, hit that big red button. All right, without further ado, let's get into the list of 5 realistically attainable bourbons to hunt this fall. So number 1 on the list is going to be Pappy Van Winkle 23 Year. I'm just messing with you. The only time you or I are probably ever going to see that, let alone get our hands on it, is in a big glass case behind some wall for some lottery that we're never going to win. But anyway, let's actually get into the first one, which is kind of a 2-for-1, to be honest with you, from an underrated release every year, and that's going to be Maker's Mark BRT 01 and 02. So I'm not exactly sure what has caused the delay, but typically one of these bottles is released in the spring and one is released in the fall, but for some reason it's been delayed, and BRT 01 is supposed to hit markets around September. So it's definitely one to keep your eye out for. Usually these wood finishing series releases from Maker's Mark are really, really good whiskey, right around that 6 to 7 years old, and they are $60 to $70. And pretty much you could go out and look in a couple different stores and maybe be able to get one of these. They make a decent amount of this stuff, and you can get your hands on it. I've been able to get my hands on a couple different wood finishing series releases, and they've all been spectacular. That's actually what I've got in my glass here, which is FAE02 from last year. Really, really good whiskey. Man, that's so good. So definitely keep an eye out for BRT 01. I'm not sure when the BRT 02 will hit, if it's going to hit in the fall, but whenever that does hit shelves, that's one to also keep your eye out for. All right, everybody, bottle number 2 is going to be the 3rd release this year from this line of limited editions. You probably already know where I'm going with this, and that is Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Batch C922. So I've been able to get my hands on 3 different Elijah Craig Barrel Proof batches. All of them have been really, really good. This is 12-year-old, non-chill filtered, Heaven Hill whiskey, and it's always, always a solid buy. The MSRP on these is $69.99, so right around 70 bucks. You might have to pay a little bit more than that, but it's certainly worth the pickup. And by the time this video comes out, that should be hitting shelves pretty much across the country. It's one of those ones where you're gonna have to do a little bit of work, you're gonna have to go to different stores, but for the most part, you're probably gonna be able to pick one up if you're looking hard for it. All right, so bottle number 3 is kind of the cousin of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, and that is Larceny Barrel Proof Batch C922. So I've had a couple of different Larceny Barrel Proof products, and to be honest with you, I might like them more than the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof offerings. This is a wheated bourbon. It is $59.99 for MSRP, so right around 60 bucks. 6 to 8 years old typically, and just really, really good whiskey. And these batches, you know, they come out with 3 batches every year, and each one's a little bit different, a little bit unique, and it's really cool to be able to say that you've collected different batches across the years and taste them and blind them together and do all that stuff. And again, this is one that if you do a solid amount of looking, you should be able to find a bottle. I mean, both Elijah Craig Barrel Proof and Larceny Barrel Proof are admittedly pretty hard to find and getting harder to find as more and more people search for them, but you should still be able to find one with a decent amount of looking this fall. All right, bottle number 4 is one that I've never had anything from this lineup, but I know that they make a good amount of it and that it's in the past been kind of a sleeper pick, although the word is pretty much out on it, and that is Remus Repeal Reserve Batch 6. So this is a annual release from MGP, which is now Ross and Squibb, but by all accounts it is always a really solid buy. The MSRP on it has jumped up a little bit and is now $100. Again, it's partly because the Remus Repeal number 5 was such a major hit. A lot of people put that in their like top 3 or 5 whiskeys of the year last year. So everybody's pretty hyped about batch number 6. Typically, these Remus Repeals are a blend of different whiskeys and mash bills and have some really nice age on them. I'm talking like 13 to 16, even 17-year-old whiskey in there. So it's always one to keep your eye out for. And for me this season, this is going to be one of the ones that I'm definitely looking for and trying to get my hands on. All right, bottle number 5 now, the final bottle on our list. This is one that's actually part of a line that I have seen around quite a bit sitting on shelves, and that's partly because it is the priciest on our list, but that bottle is going to be Bardstown Discovery Series number 9. So like I mentioned, these bottles can be pretty pricey. The MSRP on them is $139.99, so 140 bucks to drop on a bottle of bourbon. I know that's a bit much, but by all accounts, this is a really nice lineup of whiskeys. The 7 and the 8 have gotten really good reviews in the last 6 months or so. So I'm, continually looking out for the number 9. I think it's going to be great. And like I mentioned with the Remus Repeal batch, these are blends of some really well-aged whiskeys overall and always worth keeping an eye out for. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap up our list today of 5 relatively or realistically attainable bottles to hunt this fall. We can't all get our hands on super limited products. For the most part, things like Buffalo Trace, Antique Collection, Pappy Van Winkle, any Weller products that come out, some stuff like Old Forester Birthday Bourbon, all that tier, I mean, you're gonna be lucky to get one of those once in a lifetime kind of thing rather than once every year. But these 5 bottles I've talked about today, it might actually be a realistic goal to go out and try to pick up each of these each and every year. So let me know how I did in the comments below. Put together your own list of 5. Let me know what you're hunting as well in the comments below this fall. What are you keeping your eye out for specifically, and what are you hoping to get your hands on? By the way, if you're looking to see just how good those Larceny barrel proofs can really be, check out my review of Larceny Barrel Proof B522. Heck of a lot of caramel on that one. Until I see you guys again for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey and cheers.